Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name's Adriana, and I will be your host here with our wonderful partners in crime, Digital Power and Transavia. I'm looking forward to introducing them in just a moment. But here today, we are here for the presentation on how Transavia unified its customer data through a composable customer data platform. So really excited, some housekeeping items. If you would like to ask any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to do so. You can use the chat function at the bottom of your screen. We'd be happy to answer those questions at the end of the webinar. So to get started, just a little bit about Snowplow. So here you see Snowplow's customer data infrastructure. Snowplow is a data infrastructure platform that helps you collect and process and also operationalize high quality behavioral data. As shown in this diagram, data flows through those four key stages, and it helps you to really make sure that you're shifting left with your methodology in terms of making sure that you have quality and governance right from the start. So what you'll hear throughout this presentation is really how Snowplow played a small part in this composable customer data platform. And I'm going to hand it over now to Digital Power and Transavia, where they'll be actually able to introduce themselves and the hard work that they worked on here. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you guys to introduce yourselves.
Yes, thank you, Adriana. So my name is Wouter Stolk. I'm a senior data engineer at Digital Power and also the solution architect of the new marketing automation platform that we've built for Transavia. With me is my colleague from Transavia, Max Meijer, who is the product owner of the marketing automation team. Next slide, please. All right, real briefly about Digital Power. So we're a Dutch data consultancy firm with over 120 data specialists, ranging from data strategy and data analytics to more technical subjects like technical web analytics, data engineering, and data science. And we've been working together with Transavia over many years, and recently built the new composable CDP together with Transavia. Yes. All right. So what are you here for today? Well, we're gonna share some information on how we've been improving the time to market for personalization use cases from months to weeks, while also being able to reduce the costs of the platform and the licenses with roughly 40%. Next slide, please. The agenda for today, we're first going to talk about the marketing ambitions of Transavia and its goals. We're going to discuss the previous landscape, what worked well and what worked not so good, what were some of the issues. We're going to discuss the new approach, the composable CDP approach, and we're going to do a brief deep dive on one of the use cases that we've been able to implement on the new platform.
Yeah, so next up is my part, the marketing side of Transavia, and the role of marketing automation within Transavia. I think two well-known terms that are used often in the marketing automation landscape. So customer-centric communication, and of course the right message to the right person in the right time, across the channels we use currently within our marketing automation platform. That's our email, website, app, and paid channels. That's the main focus as a marketing automation team within Transavia. Next slide, please. So the primary objectives, the improved customer experience. We do that via the PXE and the NPS. I think NPS is well known with the whole audience. I think the PXE is a bit more specific to our business. It's the passenger experience index, and it's an overall score that the passenger is giving us as an airline with the service we deliver in all shapes and forms. So it's a nice score to have. And next, the increase in revenue and the share of wallet, of course, very important, also to meet the KPIs on that front, and to build a long-term loyalty with our customers, to build and retain a long-term relationship with our customers, not only through just excellent services, but also in terms of communication towards our customers, and just offer relevant stuff towards our customers. Next slide.
Yes, so we're going to discuss the old marketing automation landscape, of which you see a high-level diagram. We're not going to do any name calling, but we focused the review that we did for Transavia on the tools responsible for data collection, data processing, and data activation. And we've conducted that review at the end of 2023. So next slide, please. So what we've done is we've presented the results of our review in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly of the old landscape. So starting out with the good, what are some of the features that we would like to maintain from the old landscape in a potentially a new landscape? Well, first of all, audience engagement with the tools that we previously had within the marketing automation landscape. We were able to easily create segments, and marketers would be able to do so themselves. So there was a web interface, and you can use the web interface to build the audiences that you need. The tools offered integration with the marketing channels that are being used within Transavia. And the tools were able to synchronize those audiences with the marketing channels in, let's say, near real time. Another good point of the old landscape was scalability. So if Transavia was to air a new commercial on television and the load on the website would spike, then all of the systems downstream would be able to scale along. Lastly, what worked well was tag management on the website that did everything that we would expect from a client-side tag manager. All right, next. Thank you. So the bad, what are some of the challenges that we had with the previous landscape? Well, as you can already see from the diagram, there's a lot of inefficiency from overlapping tools. And the reason for that is due to the limitations of the closed systems that were in place, meaning that we would be limited to the functionality offered within the user interface of the tool, which is often fine for the simple use cases, creating a segment and sending that segment to your marketing channel. But when you start to work on more advanced personalization use cases, you start to hit the limits of the user interface. For quite a while, it has been Transavia's approach that when one of the systems was lacking a certain piece of functionality, we would just add another tool next to it, which would be able to collect data, process data, and send it to one of the destinations. What you can also tell from here is that there are a lot of tools relying on data from the website, so clickstream data or behavioral data, as Snowplow calls it. So yeah, a lot of duplicate data collection from the website. And lastly, data governance becomes a problem because you have so many systems that collect data, that process data, also being connected to each other. And that makes it really hard to keep track of what system is collecting what data, how are they connected in between, and where is data being sent. Yes, thank you. So what are some of the truly critical challenges with the previous landscape? Well, first of all, the lack of integration of the mobile app. So all of the tools that we had within the previous landscape were lacking support for integration with the mobile app. That's a truly critical problem for Transavia because the mobile app is a very important piece of someone's customer experience with Transavia. Also cost and complexity. So having so many tools in place, you end up with a lot of license costs, but not only license costs, but also a lot of costs for keeping those systems up to date and niche knowledge. And lastly, a reactive response, meaning that if a use case goes down, it's often very complex. and its monitoring capabilities were very limited. And we've had situation where a very valuable use case went down for a month, and only after one of the marketeers came to notify us of the decreasing numbers, we would find out that the use case was down. We had to go through all of the systems involved, trying to figure out what the bottleneck was. Yes. So what we've done is, after conducting the review, both with the business users as well as with IT, we've drafted a new landscape for Transavia, following the composable CDP approach. Next slide. So what's the concept here? The concept is to consolidate on the set of tools that you choose, and having the best of breed tool for each piece of the puzzle, basically. So often, yeah, when you think of a CDP, what it needs to do is it needs to collect data, it needs to process and store data, and it needs to activate data towards your paid media channels, your personalization engine, but potentially also other destinations. And by choosing the best of breed tool for each piece of the puzzle here, we've created enough flexibility to build any use case that we want, but also to work more centralize the data collection and data processing, so work more with the internal data teams of Transavia. This has also allowed us to improve the overview of the use cases that we have. So it's very clear how data flows throughout all the systems, and to enable proactive monitoring of those use cases, which is also a huge improvement when it comes to data governance. So going over some of the key benefits. First of all, the improved customer view. So with the new tools in place, we've been able to fully integrate the mobile app within the marketing automation ecosystem within Transavia. We're able to implement advanced data enrichment. We can easily integrate with the machine learning models that are being developed within Transavia, because the internal data team also works with Databricks, so we can really easily collaborate and create really rich data sets. We've been able to centralize business logic. So previously in the old landscape, because so many different systems were loading data from the website from various other sources, and you would also have to replicate the business logic. For example, for a conversion, we had to model that same business logic of what a conversion is throughout all those different systems. Now we only have to do that once within the data warehouse. And lastly, we've been able to implement a full feedback loop. What do we mean with that? So when we collect the behavioral data of what someone has been doing within the mobile app, and we're able to enrich that with various other data sources, we can send the data to our personalization engine, for example, which for Transavia is Pega. Then the result of that could be that Pega is going to trigger a push notification on the mobile app with a certain flight offer, for example. Once that happens, then we'll also again be able to measure how has that user been interacting with the push notification, storing that data, using it to really further develop the models within the personalization engine. So that's how we're able to create a full feedback loop. Next, please. Efficiency and standardization. So we've been able to reduce the number of tools that we had in the previous landscape. We've unified the way we collect data from the website. So we no longer have 20 different scripts collecting data on the website, but we now primarily use Snowplow to collect data client side. We've been able to improve the oversight of the running use cases. So as soon as a use case goes down for whatever reason, we'll be notified immediately. So which also ties in with the last bullet point, which is the proactive monitoring. And once we get an alert, we're directly pointed toward the place where the issues are occurring. Next slide, please. Lastly, extendability and knowledge. So with the previous landscape, a lot of the tools were quite niche. So knowledge about those tools was very limited. Some of the tools in the new landscape might still be relatively new, such as a reverse ETL tool, but they are very, very straightforward. We've been able to onboard the marketeers at Transavia with a 1-hour tutorial offered by Census. And on the other hand, the data warehouse, so Databricks, is really the centerpiece of this landscape. And there's a lot of knowledge in the market about Databricks, but not only in the market, but also within Transavia. So the internal data team of Transavia has been working with Databricks for several years already. So there's also already a lot of knowledge of the chosen tools within the company. Lastly, an extendable ecosystem. So if we, for whatever reason, decide that we want to swap out one of the tools that we have within the ecosystem for an alternative, then we can quite easily do so. We wouldn't have to migrate the full CDP, but we can really easily replace a small piece of the puzzle. Or if necessary, we can also extend the platform, say that we would like to implement more advanced entity resolution through a graph database, and we could really easily add a graph database within the ecosystem, because everything that we do is running within our own cloud provider, which is Azure. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so what did we see in impact of numbers on our side at Transavia? Yeah, overall, we saw a 10% increase in retargeting match rates just by having a much more overview of our customers and what they do on web and app. A 5 to 10% increase in recognition rate on web and app, similar to the retargeting. Yeah, we just know and see more customers and recognize more customers when having a complete view of the customers. And overall, 400% faster time to market for the marketing use cases we implemented in the last 6 months. So yeah, really happy with that part, of course. The 40% cheaper in terms of license cost. So not only a cost saving, but also a much more improved overview of our landscape, much more manageable, and that's also a cost saving, I think. And lastly, a 50% improvement on our data governance. It was really hard to have control over our data. So now having this landscape gives us the ability to really control our data and meet all the GDPR and ruling that's needed in this time and age. So next part, the personalization use case as an example to what we did with our current landscape. Please, next slide. So the objective of the use case was, next to the context of the customer, also include context of Transavia. On our side, it was a combination of the load factor and then the deviation of the load factor. But first, in a bit more detail about the use case. So what is a load factor? Is the amount of seats sold for a specific flight compared to the total capacity of a flight. And the primary goal was, of course, filling those flights, underperforming flights, with our marketing efforts. So be more efficient with our marketing spend and filling the flights that really need it. Next slide, please. So here's some examples of our personalized use cases for the different channels. As you see on top, for the paid channels in Google and Meta, based on the retargeting data we have, we can share specific offers towards our customers for a specific destination, and then include a price and how many seats are available, all based on the previous searches of a customer previous bookings of a customer, but also based on the context of Transavia. So does this flight really need a push? And if not, maybe recommend a flight the next day, or a different flight on the same day, or maybe even a different destinations or a different base to fly from. So really cool to see that in action on our paid channels. Also in email, we include a personalized offer block in our newsletter. The order of that is based on the customer's searches, and again also on the load factor score. So does it need to be pushed or not? And similar to a web and app, we have a flight recommender that recommends flights based on the complete and full history of a customer. So what did it book? What did it search for on our website? But also, does it need to be pushed? So we can be really specific what kind of flight to push to a customer or not, based on the full complete context of Transavia and a customer. Next slide, please. So a bit of insights into the model regarding the flight score. There's a predictive line how a flight can be filled. So that's the baseline. So there's a prediction on how we know a flight will fill up, and the deviation of that line gives a score, and on that score we will push or not push a specific flight. So 0, then it's on track, and +5, then it has a low score, then we need to push it, and -5, then it's above baseline, so we don't need to push it on our side. Next slide. Here you see quite a complex overview of our landscape that we had before making the transfer to our new landscape. As you can see, it's quite complex, and we don't get into that much detail. But as you see, it's really complex to debug and keep running. So we had no monitoring on this. Very complex, and we didn't include app at all. So the next slides will show how it's handled in the current setup.
Yeah, so with the migration to the composable CDP, we've also migrated the load factor use case. We've been able to include the flight searches that are happening within the app. We've also been able to decrease the complexity of the use case, and that's primarily because we are now much more in collaboration with the internal data team developing the load factor model, and we can easily tap into the offline data sources that we need for this use case, such as the flight information and the booking information, which means that we've been able to implement this use case in 1 month, which previously took roughly half a year. As Max already mentioned, with the previous setup, it was not possible to monitor the use case. So this is one of the use cases where we actually where it happened that it went down and we were not notified it for quite a while. And after we found out, well, you saw the previous diagram, it's very complex, so you need to go through all of those systems to find out where the problems lie. With this new setup, we're actively monitoring the use case. And you'll see from the results that Max will be sharing on the next slide why that is so important.
Yeah, so in terms of results for the cases you saw in just now, overall we saw an 18 million incremental increase on our website just by adding the personalized flight recommendations on the homepage. And for the personalized block in the newsletter, we saw a 5% uplift in conversion just by adding a personalized part in the whole email, and a 4% uplift in conversion rate via the app, just by adding the flight recommendations in the app, but also pushing messages through the app to our customers. and a 7% more efficient spend on our paid media, which results into an increase in our ROAS and a decrease in our cost per acquisition. So quite a big impact. Overall, a 27 million incremental increase in flight revenue just by adding those elements, and a 5 to 10% increase in NPS scores on those specific touch points that we use for personalization. So also, yeah, from a customer perspective, they see the value and feel valued by just offering personalized offer that really fit the customer. And lastly, the 1.2% increase in returning customers. So by adding or by offering relevant offers, we create a high return of customers booking another flight with us. So a nice additional benefit in showing those personalized offers.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing that story. Quite a significant impact and story here. We do have one or two questions. So I am going to ask those live if you don't mind. So here, how did you calculate the improvement in data governance as a result of this innovation?
Yeah, that's a question we get more often when we do this presentation. How we've calculated that is that with the previous landscape, we were able to yeah to properly govern what's happening with the data in roughly 50% of the landscape. So on 50% of the tools that we had in place. And with the new landscape, we're in full control. So we can exactly follow where data is being processed, who has access, where is it stored, executing on the right to be forgotten, etc. So that's how we calculated that 50%.
Great, thank you. Next question is, in terms of data collection, how did you perform in terms of before and after, and what were the main KPIs there that you used to capture how it performed better over the previous implementation?
Yeah, I think time to market for use cases is a very important one there. We struggled with integrating offline data sources into the old CDP that we had to create the more feature-rich user profiles that we had available. And because of the use of Databricks now, we can really easily connect our own data sources. So we have a lot of flexibility. We can, for example, use Python and utilize Spark to ingest data from other sources, as well as connect with Snowplow and having that rich behavioral data readily available to us. And besides that, we can also tap into the data sources that have already been ingested by other teams within Databricks. So that makes it much easier.
And thank you. Next question. In regards to governance and observability within the company, how did you see any improvements in terms of being able to self-serve and allow folks to have that observability for governance?
Yeah, I think as you see with most large data warehousing solutions nowadays, they have very extensive functionality when it comes to data governance. So they offer audit logs, they offer row level security, column level security, etc. So that makes it very easy to govern who has access to what. We can share those data sets throughout the company, but we can also really granularly decide who gets access to what. So that helps. In terms of self-service, yeah, we can help each other. So previously, we worked as a silo. We had our own CDP, which functions like a data silo, basically. And you had the internal data teams working on their systems. And now we can really collaborate on that. And also on that point, so what's also an additional benefit of taking this approach is that with the old landscape, whenever you try to build a dashboard, for example, you would have to get that data out of the CDP and integrate it into your data landscape. That's now all tied together. So that makes creating dashboards, for example, on top of your behavioral data much easier.
Right. And last question that we have here, what's next for Transavia with personalization based on your new composable CDP approach?
Next one is expanding the ancillary recommendations. So customers who are in booking, recommend them the right upsell options. Can be first party, but also third party options. I think there's quite a lot to gain there, especially on website and app, since we didn't include app at all in our personalization use cases. So really curious to see what the results will be when we add those use cases.
Right. We're looking forward to it and seeing how that goes. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you everybody on the call. We will be following up with ways to contact Digital Power for any assistance, as well as Snowplow if we can help you along in your data journeys. Thank you, Transavia, for sharing your story. We're so appreciative of that. And we thank everybody on the call today. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
all.
you.